Hello and welcome to Raju Notes channel, your pit stop for weekly current affairs updates. The updates tailor-made for students taking all kinds of competitive exams like UPSC, civils, defense and placement interviews. Please subscribe to the channel and stay updated every Sunday. Indian Space Research Organization ISRO has successfully demonstrated a new technology with inflatable aerodynamic decelerator called as IAD. IAD is a game changer with multiple applications for future missions, including to Mars and Venus. The IAD was successfully test flown in Rohini sounding rocket from Tumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station. Rohini sounding rockets are routinely used for flight demonstrations of new technology being developed by ISRO as well as by the scientists from India and abroad. The IAD was initially folded and kept inside the payload bay of the rocket. At around 84 km altitude, the IAD was inflated and it descended through an atmosphere with the payload part of sounding rocket. The IAD has systematically reduced the velocity of the payload through the aerodynamic drag and followed the predicted trajectory. This demonstration opens a gateway for cost-effective spent stage recovery using the inflatable aerodynamic decelerator technology. And this IAD technology can also be used in ISRO's future missions to various planets like Venus and Mars. In a nail-biting finish, Liz Truss was named leader of the governing Conservative Party and the Britain's next Prime Minister on Monday, taking over power at a time when the country faces a lot of living crisis, industry unrest and recession. After weeks of often bad-tempered and diverse leadership contests that saw the foreign minister face off against the foreign finance minister Rishi Sunak, Truss came out on top of the vote of Conservative Party members. The announcement will trigger the start of a handover from Boris Johnson, who was forced to announce his resignation in July after months of scandal saw support for his administrative reign away. Truss, 47-year-old, had promised that she would act quickly to tackle Britain's cost of living crisis. She said that within a week she will come up with a plan to tackle the rising energy bill and securing future fuel supplies. The central government of India on Monday announced that the Rajpath, formerly known as the King's Way, and the Central Vista Lawn area in Delhi will now be renamed as Kartavya Path. Rajpath is the boulevard that runs from Rashtrapati Bhavan through Vijay Chowk and India Gate, National War Memorial to National Stadium. This comes days ahead of the scheduled reopening of the refurbished Central Vista on September 8th. The Rajpath now presently has the idol of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in the canopy. The Government of India is looking to make the online world more accountable for publishing items through the proposed new vision of Data Protection Bill and the amendment to the IT Act 2000 known as Digital India Act. Last month, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology MeitY withdrew the Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 because, firstly, it would have made compliance hard for startups, and also because mainly the provisions of the bill such as data localization, hardware authenticity clauses, and so on were beyond the ambit of data protection. The IT minister said that the idea to make the technology providers more accountable for content being published is part of global consensus. Mr. Vaishnav said the government was looking at the complete overhaul of the cyber laws in the country, and in that context he made a mention of the upcoming new telecom bill. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced a new initiative, the development and upgradation of 14,500 schools across the country under Pradhan Mantri Schools for Rising India. The short form is PM Shri, SHRI. Pradhan Mantri Schools for Rising India Yojana. In the series of tweets, Mr. Modi said that these PM Shri schools will become model schools which will encapsulate the full spirit of national education policy. The PM Shri schools will have a modern, transformational and holistic methods of imparting education. Mr. Modi said that the emphasis will be given on the discovery-oriented, learning-centric way of teaching. VTB Bank said on Tuesday it has become the first Russian bank to launch money transfer to China in yuan without using the international messaging system SWIFT. that underpins financial transactions globally. Demand for the yuan in Russia has increased since February 24, when Russia sent tens and thousands of troops into Ukraine and the West imposed sanctions against Moscow, limiting its access to the dollars and euro markets. The sanction on major Russian banks, including the state-governed VTB, had effectively cut lenders off from the global financing system. As per VTB CEO Andrei Kostin, the new reality is leading to a massive rejection of the use of dollar and the euro on international payments. The launch of yuan transfer system will significantly simplify the work of Russian companies and individuals with Chinese partners, increasing the popularity of yuan in our country. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh met his Mongolian counterpart Saikhanbayar Gursed this week and discussed way to add further momentum to defence cooperations between the two countries. Defence Minister Singh on 5 days visit to Mongolia and Japan, beginning Monday with an aim to expand India's strategic and defensive ties with the two countries in the backdrop of evolving regional security matrix and the geopolitical turmoil. Singh's visit to Mongolia from September 5th to 7th is the first ever tour to East Asian country by an Indian defense minister. From Mongolia, the defense minister will travel to Japan for a 2-day visit from September 8 to September 9. The 2+2 dialogue is set to take place on September 8. The dialogue is taking place after Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida visited India for the annual India-Japan Summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina held bilateral talks in India this week to review the further strengthening the all-encompassing India-Bangladesh partnership. The India-Bangladesh delegation level talks were led by both leaders. Issues related to connectivity, energy, water resources, trade and investment, border management and security, development partnership and regional and multilateral matters were on the agenda. The two leaders jointly unveiled Unit 1 of the Maitri Super Thermal Power Project following the bilateral and delegation level of talks in Delhi. The project is being constructed under India's concessional financial scheme. It will add 1,320 megawatts to Bangladesh national grid. 7 memorandum of understandings including on water resources, railway, science and technology, space technology were exchanged following the talks. This includes a memorandum of understanding between Prasar Bharati and Bangladesh Television on cooperation in field of broadcasting. In his press statement, Prime Minister Modi announced that an important agreement on water sharing from the Kushiara River has been signed today. This will benefit southern Assam in India and Sylhet region in Bangladesh. In 2021-22, Bangladesh has emerged as the largest trading partner for India in South Asia and fourth largest export destination for India. In the last 5 years, the bilateral trade has grown from $9 billion to $18 billion. The India-US startup SETU, which stands for Supporting Entrepreneurs for Transformation and Upskilling (SETU), will act as a bridge between American and Indian companies. Talking about the initiatives taken by the government to encourage investments in India, Mr. Piyush Goyal said the government would launch 5G services in October and gradually roll it out across the country. He said at present, about 20,000 villages in remote areas of India have a weak 4G connectivity. However, the government has sanctioned $2.5 billion to install 4G towers and systems in these areas. Simultaneously, the government was laying down fiber optics for broadband connectivity. These initiatives by the government would open up more opportunities for the investors from the US and the Bay Area in remoter parts of the country. Mr. Goyal is on a 6-day tour to US for various programs, which include the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, which is called as IPEF, ministerial meetings and the India-US Strategic Partnership Forum Conference. The Union Cabinet today approved policy on long-term leasing of the railways land for implementation of PM Gati Shakti framework. Briefing media in New Delhi today, Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur said the policy will bring more revenue to railways and generate about 1,20,000 jobs. He said 300 PM Gati Shakti cargo terminals will also be developed over the next 5 years. Mr. Thakur said that this will help in attracting more cargo to the railways and reducing the logistic cost of the industry. He said the revised railway land policy will enable integrated development of infrastructure and more cargo terminals. He said the policy will provide for use of railway land at nominal cost for setting up solar plants on the railway land. Indian origin barrister Sulela Braverman is the new Home Secretary of United Kingdom. She has been appointed as a new Home Secretary by Prime Minister Liz Truss. She has succeeded her colleague of Indian origin Preeti Patel. In today's tweet, Sulela Braverman said she is honoured to be appointed by the Prime Minister Liz Truss to serve the United Kingdom as Home Secretary. The 42-year-old Sulela Braverman from the ruling Conservative Party has served as the Attorney General in the earlier government led by Boris Johnson. Born to a Hindu Tamil mother, Uma, and father, Christy Fernandez, Braverman is a Buddhist. She took her oath on the office of Parliament on the Buddhist text of Dhammampada. She was one of the contenders to replace the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Recently, Liz Truss took over as the UK's Prime Minister as she was named the leader of the country's ruling Conservative Party. She secured 81,326 votes while her competitor Rishi Sunak got 60,399 votes. US President Joe Biden has nominated Indian-American attorney Arun Subramanian to be US District Judge for the Southern District of New York. A communication in this regard was sent to the Senate by the White House along with the other judicial nominations. If confirmed by the Senate, Mr. Subramanian will be the first South Asian judge to serve on the United States District Court from the Southern District of New York. Indian National Security Council Secretariat (NSCS) and the United Kingdom government in collaboration with the BAE system successfully designed and conducted a cyber security exercise for 26 countries. The exercise has been conducted as part of the International Counter-Ransomware Initiative Resilience Working Group, which is being led by India under the leadership of National Cyber Security Coordinator (NCSC). The National Security Council Secretariat in a statement said that the exercise has been facilitated by the BAE systems through the Immense Labs platform, and the scenario has been written specifically for the participants based on their threat intelligence and operational experiences. The theme of the exercise is based on energy sector in which the respective national cyber crisis management teams of the CRI partner nations will have to deal with the ransomware attacks on multiple electricity distribution companies. The aim to organize this virtual cyber exercise on ransomware resilience is to simulate a large, widespread cyber security incident affecting organizations within a country. The Indian Infantry Battalions guarding the Line of Actual Control (LAC) with China in Arunachal Pradesh are racing to equip themselves with string of new weapons and systems to sharpen their combat edge. With the capability upgrade encompassing light machine guns, assault rifles, rocket launchers, unmanned aerial vehicles, all-terrain vehicles, and high-tech surveillance gears, helipads capable of operating multiple Mission Chinook helicopters are also coming up in the remote pockets for faster development of soldiers and weapons. The new inductions include Israeli Negev light machine guns, SIG-SAW assault rifles from the United States, Swedish Carl Gustaf Mark III rocket launchers, indigenous Swift unmanned aerial vehicles, all-terrain vehicles from US, and digital spotting scopes for better recognition and identification of targets. The Army's sharpened focus on the eastern sector comes when the India and China are locked in a border row in Ladakh sector. The Indian Army and the Chinese People's Liberation Army on Thursday announced that their frontline troops have kicked off disengagement from the Petrol Point 15, that is Gogra Hot Spring areas in eastern Ladakh. With this, the breakthrough comes after 16th round of military talks held in July. This is the 4th round of disengagement between the two armies. President Draupadi Murmu on Friday launched Pradhan Mantri TB Mukt Bharat Abhiyan campaign, an anti-TB campaign, and exhorted the people to unitedly strive towards eradicating tuberculosis, also called as TB, from the country by 2025. The President also launched the Nikshaya Mitra initiative to ensure additional diagnostic, nutritional, and vocational support to those TB treatment and encourage elected representatives, cooperatives, NGOs, and individuals to come forward as donors to help the patient complete their journey towards the recovery. The Nikshaya, spelled as Nikkshay, Nikshaya 2.0 portal will facilitate in providing additional patient support to improve treatment outcome of TB patients, augmenting community involvement in meeting India's commitment to end the TB by 2025 and leveraging corporate social responsibilities CSR opportunities. Olympic gold medalist winning Indian javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra has created history by becoming the first ever Indian to win Diamond Trophy. The 24-year-old won the Diamond League final in Zurich with the best throw of 88.44 meters. Apart from Diamond Trophy, Neeraj also won a prize of $30,000. Queen Elizabeth II, Britain's longest-serving monarch, has passed away at age of 96. On Thursday, Buckingham Palace had released a statement saying that she was under medical supervision and her doctors were concerned for her health. The monarch had been facing health problems since October last year that left her with difficulties in walking and standing. Prince Charles has become the King of UK after the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. The 73-year-old had been next in line to throne for 7 decades. Meanwhile, his wife, Camilla, has become Queen's consort. The state funeral that will be accorded to the late Queen Elizabeth II will be the UK's first such funeral since 1965, with Winston Churchill being the last head of the state to get that honour. The Queen's husband, Prince Philip, was given a royal ceremonial funeral. A state funeral begins with the body of the deceased being brought on a gun carriage. Volker Turk of Austria has been appointed as the next United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights following approval by the General Assembly. The new High Commissioner is currently coordinating global policy works as an Under-Secretary General in the United Nations Executive Office. Previously, he was Assistant High Commissioner for Protection of UN Refugees at UNHCR in Geneva, where he played a key role in development of the landmark global campaign on the refugees. And now for the segment where we see the events that unfolded this week back in history. September 3, 1856, Louis Sullivan is born. On this day, 166 years ago, Louis Sullivan, the father of skyscrapers, was born. Instead of imitating historical styles, Sullivan created majestic office buildings in Chicago. He showed how function and form can work together, but form should follow the function. Refusing to do what he didn't believe in, he spent his last years without work. Henry Cameron on Ayn Rand's novel The Fountainhead was inspired by Sullivan, while the protagonist Howard Rocks was based on Sullivan's famed protege Frank Lloyd Wright. September 5th, 1888, S. Radhakrishnan, the philosopher king, was born. On this day, 134 years ago, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, India's first vice president and second president, was born. He was the classic philosopher king of Plato. A brilliant teacher and philosopher, this Bharat Ratna awardee was the most illuminating interpreter of India's heritage and was equally at home in Western philosophical thoughts. Those who glorified India's culture without understanding it and those who degenerated it were equally wrong in his eyes. India celebrates his birthday as Teachers' Day. September 6, 1916, Piggly Wiggly, the first supermarket, is open. On this day, 106 years ago, Piggly Wiggly opened to curious customers in festive atmosphere. For weeks, billboards and newspaper ads about this grocery store with funny name promised an entirely new shopping experience, one that would, according to its owner, Clarence Saunders, forever change the retail grocery business, and it did. The Piggly Wiggly on the 79th Jefferson Avenue in Memphis, Tennessee, paved the way for the modern supermarkets. September 7, 1923, the Interpol is born. On this day, 99 years ago, international police organization most commonly known as Interpol was founded. Interpol promotes mutual assistance between police forces and establishes and develops institutions likely to contribute to prevent the suppression of international crimes. Headquarters in Lyon, France, it is the only police organization that spans the entire globe. Established to deal with the anarchists of Europe, its biggest challenge today is a cybercrime. And regardless of what Hollywood feeds you, there are no Interpol agents. September 9, 1993, PLO recognizes the State of Israel. On this day, 29 years ago, the Palestine Liberation Organization, also called as PLO, recognized the Israel as a legitimate state. The letter of recognition was a preamble to the Oslo Accords that marked the first time that the State of Israel and the PLO formally recognized one another and publicly committed to negotiate a solution to their decades-long conflict based on territorial compromise. The hopes for a permanent settlement, however, were short-lived.
Well, that's all, friends, for this week's updates. See you soon next Sunday on the same channel. Till then, take care. Bye bye.